Somewhere tonight, a list is being sorted, not by hand, but by a quiet, patient machine running down a long column of stolen card numbers. And the only question it is asking over and over is a simple one: is this one still alive? Because a raw list of card numbers, however long, is almost worthless on its own. The person holding it does not know which numbers were cancelled an hour ago, which accounts are frozen, which were dead before they were ever sold. So before any of it can be spent, the list has to be graded, live from dead, and that grading leaves a footprint. This is the story of that footprint. The small, strange pattern that card testing makes as it moves through the payment system, and the fast, layered machinery built to notice it in the very moment it appears. The problem for the thief starts where the fraud economy starts, with a pile of numbers that looks valuable and mostly is not. A batch of stolen card details can run to thousands of entries, and to an outsider it seems like a stack of cash waiting to be used. But it is nothing of the sort. Not yet. Cards get reported and cancelled, accounts get frozen, banks reissue after a breach they caught on their own side. A number that worked last week may be a dead brick today, and there is no label on the list telling anyone which is which. So the raw list has a problem baked into it, it is untrustworthy, and the only way to give it value is to find out quietly which numbers still authorize. That need to grade the list before spending it is the whole engine behind everything that follows. The probe ending isn't. So the fraud economy runs the numbers through a validation step. And the shape of that step is the thing to understand. The idea is to ask the payment network a low-stakes version of a single question. Would this card approve, without moving real money or drawing a real person's eye? That means the smallest, quietest touches possible. Tiny amounts, sometimes a charge so small it is almost nothing. Sometimes an authorization check that never even settles into a real purchase. I am describing the pattern deliberately and not the recipe, because the how of it does not matter here, only the shape. A live card returns one kind of answer, a dead card another, and by watching which come back approved, the list gets sorted into the small pile worth something and the large pile that is not. The good ones are then sold onward or spent far away, and the testing itself is meant to be beneath notice, a whisper rather than a shout. The quiet grounds, and this is where ordinary innocent businesses get pulled in without ever knowing. To run those quiet checks, the pattern needs places that accept a small charge with as little friction as possible, and the web is full of them. A tiny online shop with a simple checkout, a charity's donation form, built by design to accept any amount from anyone with no questions asked, a small subscription or a family storefront that never imagined it would be interesting to anyone. None of these were built to be a proving ground, and none of them chose the role. They simply offer the one thing the pattern needs, a way to submit a card and get back a fast yes or no. So the smallest, least defended corners of online commerce end up doing the sorting work for free, absorbing a wave of little attempts that have nothing to do with their real customers and often paying for the privilege in ways we will come back to. But here is the turn. The reason this is a story about getting caught rather than getting away. The sorting process, quiet as each single step is, has a shape when you step back and look at the whole. One honest customer buys one thing once with one card from one device in one place. The pattern of testing looks nothing like that. It is a burst, many attempts crowded into a short window. It is many different card numbers arriving from one narrow source. It is a rhythm no human shopper produces, attempt after attempt after attempt, faster than fingers move. Any single small charge is invisible, indistinguishable from a real one, but the behavior around it, the volume and the velocity and the sameness underneath the surface variety, draws a silhouette that does not look like shopping at all. The very thing that makes testing efficient, doing it at scale and at speed, is the thing that makes it show. Velocity. Velocity is the sharpest of those tells. A genuine store sees purchases arrive at the pace of human life, spread across the day, each one a person deciding to buy. Testing arrives at the pace of a machine, dozens or hundreds of attempts against a single form in the time it takes one real customer to find the checkout button. So one of the oldest and most reliable defenses simply counts How many attempts from this source in the last minute? How many different card numbers tried against this one merchant in the last hour? How many failures in a row before something approves? None of these counts needs to understand the fraud to flag it. They only need to notice that the rate has left the range of anything a human being would do. Speed, the greatest advantage in grading a long list quickly, becomes the very signal that gives the operation away. The faster the sorting runs, the louder it rings. The shared prefix. Look closer and more tells surface, hiding in the numbers themselves. The leading digits of a card are not random. They encode the issuing bank, so a batch stolen from the same source often shares those opening digits, card after card, tracing back to the same small handful of issuers. A real merchant's customers carry a natural spread of banks, the ordinary mix of a crowd, a stream of attempts where an unusual number of cards share the same bank prefix did not come from a crowd. It came from a list. The same goes for the small details riding along with each attempt, the address, the name, the extra verification codes. A genuine shopper's details fit together. They match the card and each other. Testing, working from stolen fragments, tends to leave those details blank or mismatched or copied identically across attempt after attempt. Stacked up across a burst, the mismatches describe something being fed from a spreadsheet, not typed by a person. The signals, and then there are the signals the attempt cannot help but carry about where and how it arrived. Every request comes stamped with clues, the rough geography it came from, the fingerprint of the device and software behind it, the network path it traveled. One real customer looks like one place, one device, one consistent story. A testing run tends to betray itself here too. Many attempts sharing one device signature while wearing different card numbers, or a spray scattered across the globe faster than any traveler could move. None of these signals is proof on its own. A real person can travel, can switch devices, can look briefly strange, but the payment system does not lean on any one of them alone. It stacks them into a single composite picture, and the composite is far harder to fool than any lone check. The defenses, so gather all of that into the machinery that actually does the catching. Because this is the heart of it. At the merchant's edge sit velocity limits, hard ceilings that refuse too many attempts from one source too quickly. So a form cannot be hammered as a free testing ground. Behind those sit risk scoring engines that weigh every one of the tells at once, the rate, the mix of banks, the mismatches, the device, the geography, and turn them into a single judgment about how much this attempt looks like sorting rather than shopping. And further back, on the issuer's own side, sits the fastest layer of all. The bank that would approve or decline sees not just this one attempt, but the pattern across everywhere that card and its neighbors are being tried. And it runs that pattern through detection built to fire in milliseconds, quick enough to decline in the moment and flag the whole batch as compromised. When a source is identified, it can simply be cut off and the testing ground closes. Layer on layer, edge and engine and issuer, each watching the same behavior from a different angle. The step-up challenge. One defense deserves its own name because it changes the game rather than merely counting it. The step-up challenge is the moment the system stops trusting the card number alone and demands proof that the real cardholder is present. A check handed back to the issuing bank, a prompt asking the person to confirm they are who they claim through something only they should have. A card number by itself is just a string of digits. And a string of digits is exactly what a stolen list is made of. A challenge that reaches past the number to the actual human behind the account asks for something the list simply does not contain. Testing, an unattended process running numbers with no real person there to answer, tends to stall at exactly that gate. It is the difference between asking, "Does this number approve?" and asking, "Is the owner here?" And that second question is one graded fragments on a spreadsheet cannot easily answer. Who pays? And now the part that is easy to forget. Who actually carries the cost of all this? When a small merchant becomes an unwitting testing ground, the bill does not go to the person doing the sorting. Each attempt can carry a fee. A flood of them can trip the merchant's own risk thresholds with their payment processor, raising their rates or freezing their account outright. And if a tested card is later disputed, the chargeback and its penalty often land on the merchant who processed it, not on the person who was never really shopping there. So the tiny shop and the small charity, which never chose any of this, end up paying in fees, in penalties, in the weight of cleaning up a wave of transactions that were never real sales. The fraud is aimed through them, not at them, and yet they are the ones left holding the invoice. The probe has a cost, and it lands on the least protected. The double edge, which brings us squarely to the tension at the center, the double edge that runs through everything. All this defensive machinery, the velocity limits and the risk scores and the step-up challenges, is not free and does not fall only on the guilty. Tighten the thresholds too far and you begin declining real people, the genuine customer whose one legitimate purchase happens to look, for a moment, a little too fast or a little too foreign, turned away at the checkout for a crime they did not commit. Every false decline is a real sale lost, a real customer insulted, a small merchant whose honest orders get strangled by defenses meant for someone else. The system cannot perfectly tell the tester from the shopper, so every dial it turns toward catching more fraud also turns toward refusing more real business. Push too hard and the cure costs more than the disease. No defense here is clean and nothing in this space is ever foolproof. The same sensitivity that catches the sorting of a stolen list also catches, sometimes, the person who simply wanted to buy something. What it is really about. So here is the thing to sit with once the mechanics settle. The number on the front of a card was never the valuable thing. Not really. It is just a claim, a string that says an account exists somewhere, and a claim is only worth what it can be shown to be true. The whole drama of card testing is a fight over that single point, one side trying to quietly confirm which claims still hold, the other racing to notice the confirming as it happens and to demand a harder kind of proof. And the payment system, for all its flaws and false declines, has become remarkably good at watching not the transactions but the shape of the behavior around them, the rhythm and volume and small tells that betray a list being graded. It is a reminder that in these systems you are rarely caught by any single thing you do. You are caught by the pattern, the silhouette your actions draw when someone steps back far enough to see the whole of it at once. If this is the kind of thing you find yourself thinking about, the quiet machinery under the everyday internet, then this channel is your sort of place. There is no product to sell you here. It is just the systems taken apart and explained by someone who has spent a long time on the inside of them. Subscribe and follow the rabbit hole. Next time we are going to look at the auction you never see, the one that fires in the sliver of a second every time a page begins to load. Before the words have even finished drawing on your screen, your attention has already been packaged up, described and sold, offered to a room full of bidders who fight over the right to reach you, and the whole thing is over before you have read a single line.